Survivor 46 is done, and I have a lot to say about it. First, let's start off by talking about the season as a whole. I think that Jeff and the production crew actually took a lot of conscious steps into making advantages and idols less severe than they were in the 30s and early 40s. I know that a lot of the idols didn't even get played, but I actually found that to be kind of refreshing since most of the votes were based on alliances and social game. I also liked a good bit of the challenges this season. I'm glad that they did that Plinko game instead of Samotion because I feel like we've seen Samotion the past 5 seasons in a row. And then there was that one challenge where it was Venus versus Maria and they were guiding that pole with the ball on it. So overall, great decisions, I would say, by Jeff and the production. I think some things I didn't like in terms of production. Not a huge fan of some of the random scenes that we got, specifically pre-merge. I'm not that interested in the salsa dancing, not super interested in the music battle off between Ben and Charlie. I understand why those are there, and I know that they are entertaining at the very least. And I think that also leads back to the imbalanced tribes and the 3-tribe format. If anything, this season in particular, as well as the last 2, have proved that the 3-tribe format just does not work, and they need to change that. Because in my opinion, if Jess was on a season that had a 2-tribe format, I think she would be in the game for a lot longer than she was. And I think that it also creates this dynamic where there is just one tribe that keeps losing immunity after immunity. And it was fun in 44, and it was even more fun in 45, but now it's kind of getting old, and I don't like to see it anymore. It just creates a very imbalanced edit and gives too much screen time to players that we've seen a whole lot of, and not a whole lot of screen time to players we want to see more of. Speaking of which, let's just get into the cast real quick. I wouldn't say that this is the best cast of the new era. I think that 45 maybe has an edge just slightly, but I do think that the final 10 of this season was amazing. Of course, there are characters like Banu who I don't know what else I could say about Banu that hasn't been said already, but he, in my opinion, is a huge casting mistake. Not really anything against Banu, it's more a mistake in terms of production, in terms of casting. I think they did a pretty good job of casting people who are there for $1 million, but I think that they should be casting everyone to be there to win $1 million. And I think Banu was a huge mistake because he was not there for that. He was there to be a fan favorite, which I think he got the opposite reception. And of course, you can't talk about the pre-merge without talking about Jelinski. An incredibly iconic first boot, in my opinion. I think my jaw was on the floor many times when he was talking in confessionals and when he quit the Sweat vs. Savvy challenge.
Last I checked, several means 7, not 4.
I honestly would love to see Jelinski play more than he did, because I think he would have been really funny and interesting to see on the screen. People like Tim and Mariah, I feel like all these people weren't really important to the season as a whole, but none of these players really left a huge impact on me. But I think the post-merge is definitely where the season picks up. Players that we wanted to see more end up sticking around for the longest time, like Venus, Q, Charlie, Ben. So I was definitely not disappointed as the season was going on. I feel like the boot order was really swift, and I feel like there was a lot of proper character development. Episode by episode, I began to appreciate Liz a lot more, and she became easily one of my favorite players this season. I think Charlie, I began to recognize his game as the story went on, and I think he is arguably one of the best players to never win the game. Q is wonderfully, magnificently delusional, and I think he makes for great television despite what you think of him. I don't know anyone that dislikes Q. I think he is just a chef's kiss in terms of casting.
I just ate about 23 slices of pizza.
Of course, you can't really talk about the post-merge without talking about the amount of idols that went home. It was surprising when Gem did it. It was even more surprising when Hunter did it, then Tiff, and then Venus, and then Q. And by the time it happened with Q, I was astounded. I wasn't even upset that they didn't play their idol. I was actually thrilled because it made for great television. And it became so absurd by the time Venus did it that it was like we were watching slapstick. The finale was pretty great. I think I liked the finale a lot more than almost any finale of the new era. Liz helping Kenzie with that puzzle at the end was controversial, but I liked the decision of it. And the Final Four immunity with Ben winning was personally exciting for me because I wanted to see Ben have at least a moment. And I think there's a lot of characters on Survivor that never really get their moment despite being like a fan favorite. The final tribal council was pretty good. Some of the jurors that I really enjoyed the questions of were Soda and Q. Almost everyone on the jury, I believe, has huge egos, and almost everyone in the final three is like some of the more humble people that were on the season. So that dynamic was super interesting. Kenzie being crowned the winner is not disappointing at all. I think she's very well deserved. She played maybe the best social game in the entire new era, despite her not really being in control of the game. I think a lot of that credit goes to Charlie. A big testament to her social game is even Liz going back for that puzzle piece for Kenzie, just because she needed her to win. If it wasn't Kenzie there, I don't think Liz would have done that. And I think it's also impressive that people never saw Kenzie as a threat, even though she was a hairstylist, just like Jam Jam, and she also had a very strong social game that was quite obvious to a lot of people, but everyone was so focused on the resume and the big moves that they never saw the threat of a social player. And that's also somewhat refreshing for this season, is that there was a huge lack of that resume building that factored into the winner of the season, which I would say last season, season 45, with Dee winning, I think Dee is still the best winner of the new era because she is so well-rounded in terms of social challenge and her strategy. But that season was so focused on the resumes and the moves that you made. Whereas this season, it's almost like non-applicable. The after show was painful to watch. I felt incredibly bad for Charlie that Maria did not vote for him. I think I would completely understand Maria not voting for him if she gave just a consistent reason as to not doing it. I think if she was just honest and said that she was bitter and that she was not happy that she was there in the final three, then I think I would be a little bit more forgiving because at least she was honest. So yeah, I do kind of feel bad for Charlie because I feel like we did see this relationship between them blossom, and it is a huge betrayal. Do I think Maria is a bad person? Not at all. I think that she just doesn't really quite know what she's doing. I also think that this after show proved that we need the live reunions again, because it would have given Charlie some time to reflect and think about like his loss if he, because they don't know that they won or lost yet still, but he could have at least thought about the situation in which he did lose. And I think just more time between the game and like real life and talking about the game again is always good. It's always good. It gives players time to reflect. It gives players time to see what people have said about them online. It would give a lot of the cast a time to reflect on their performance on the show. That's my review of Survivor 46. I would say overall, I would give the season a strong 7 out of 10. I think if the pre-merge wasn't as terrible as it was, I think it would be like a strong 8. And I don't think that a new era season, in my opinion, is like a 9 out of 10. This season is really close to being the best of the new era. I think that 45 and 46 are going to be like really close in my mind, but I think I'm going to just like wait and see like how they sit in my mind for a couple of months before I decide. But that's it. Tell me what you thought of Survivor 46. Do you think Kenzie deserved to win? Did you think that Q deserved to win? Do you think that Banu deserved to win? You can comment that below. I always read the comments, and I try to respond to almost everyone. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Peace out.